And you mentioned, like putting in some kind of a single sign-on solution with lifecycle management would probably help
Mhm.
automate portions of it. But they should, again, access control, privileged account management. Look at those user lists, try and limit it to who really needs access, limit access, and I think keeping things simple. I mean, a lot of times, a lot of organizations get carried away with immense complexity and role definitions, and that may come back to haunt them at a later point in time.
It definitely will. But that's why one of the first, like if I'm building a cyber program, one of my first hires typically is like a GRC person, right? Because inside of a good GRC program, even on a small team, um, I build kind of an audit function in there, right? Where every 6 months, every quarter, you're going back and you're looking to make sure people are deprovisioned. Like you're looking for and kind of going back and making sure that the processes you have in place work. Like it's a super important function.
That's really cool. Yeah, you're the first CISO we've had on the program that's actually mentioned that, where you're starting it off with the GRC function. It wouldn't have occurred to me to do
I
it
think
that way.
the last time I started a cyber function, I think they were the number 3 or 4 hire, I think, something like that. So it wasn't the first. Typically, it's like an engineer or somebody pretty technical, but it wasn't way far down, right? It is important because um, without getting off track too much, but like it's a core function to be able to go through as your company grows. Even smaller companies are typically getting ISO or SOC 2 certified, and having that GRC function is kind of a core tenet of being able to do that.
So you mentioned two items there, in terms of phishing, in terms
Mhm.
of access control. What's a third one that you see that's a
Um,
serious?
it's it's application security. Like I know we touched on it with the library stuff, but I've been doing AppSec now for I think 20 years, if I did
Wow.
my math on the fly right, right. So in 20 years ago, we were finding SQL injection, and guess what?
Yeah.
We're still finding SQL
SQL.
injection
Yeah.
today, right?
Right.
So it's still. I think the main thing that's changed, if I look at over the course of the years, is our languages have gotten smarter. Where SQL injection quite isn't as easy to do as it used to be, but our pervasive use of open source has really caused some different risks, right? Because if you think about a couple of the ones that have happened lately, Log4j is kind of the one that's been
Yep.
talked about so much lately, but uh, you know everybody could have done everything correctly from their perspective and perform testing on their code, but in the end, the weakest link was something you didn't even write, right? And so much code these days is open source that you don't have any control over. So application security is still a big one for me, even if it's not your code specifically. Um, it could be somebody else's code that you just reuse.
Yeah. If someone's built a portal out there, I would highly advise them to have their websites and, for lack of a better word, penetration tested, but it's really application testing. They
Mm-hmm.
really should have a deep dive into that because the findings might actually surprise them as to how easy it is. I remember there was a I forget who put it out, but there was a tweet. It was about a fellow in a car, and he had actually put a SQL injection query on the front of his bumper. And
Oh,
when
that's
he
brilliant.
drove past the speed cameras in the UK, it actually worked.
Did it really?
It
Oh, that's a
did. You got
fantastic
to look it.
story.
You got to look it up. I was like, wow, I didn't think of that, but that's pretty neat. Yeah, if you look it up, you'll find it.
I'm gonna
It's
Google that when
somewhere
we're
out
done.
there. But it's an example, right? People should absolutely test the heck out of their
and
applications.
it, and don't let like when I built a couple of things like with my side company in the past, and that was just part of my budget. I had a guy who I know would do it for me on the side, and it should just be part of your budget. And there are ways to do it if you're, you know, it doesn't have to be a big $100,000 price tag to do a pen test, right? There are pen test as a service companies out there that are very reasonably priced for, for smaller businesses. You don't have to, go for the big names that'll charge you 6 figures.